everyone! First things first, I want to apologise for how immensely sweaty I am. I mean, that's a great way to start a video, isn't it? Please like and subscribe. Seriously though, it is really warm in the UK right now. We are not used to temperatures being as high as they are. Yesterday it was 28. I think today it's around 27, so a full degree cooler. And yes, I know if you're watching this in Spain or Portugal or Greece or somewhere, you are probably used to temperatures going way higher than that. But I'm in Britain and I'm not. I am literally on fire right now. It is so warm. I'm also very hot and bothered because I am isolating at the moment. I don't, touch wood, have COVID, but unfortunately Leslie does. And Leslie and I, as you know, are together an awful lot. There's a lot of hugging involved and close contact. So if she gets it, which she has, the likelihood is I probably will. So I'm isolating to try and not give it to anyone else in the family if I do get it, hoping that I don't get it, because obviously I'm vulnerable, so you know, really don't want the plague. So yeah, things are not quite perfect at the moment, and that's kind of what I wanted to talk to you guys about today, because life isn't perfect, and yet when you look on certain Instagram feeds or Facebook pages, you would be forgiven for thinking that for other people, it is. Now, I am all for people using their social media however they see fit. If you want to make out like life is perpetually rosy and you don't want to talk about personal things that are upsetting you or the troubles that you've got going on in your life, that's absolutely fine. I just think it's weird when people have this odd facade of perfection all the time, because that's not real. I've mentioned this briefly in other videos before, but I do find it really strange. I mean, for instance, I used to know a girl who was really obsessed with cultivating her Instagram and her Facebook page to make it seem as though her life was amazing all the time. She had kids and they were the most perfect children ever. She never said anything about, oh, does anyone know how to deal with this problem? Or what do you do when they won't sleep? It was always just, my children are angels. They're so perfect all of the time. Hashtag blessed. Equally, her marriage was the greatest marriage that anyone has ever been part of in the history of love. Until they got divorced, which weirdly she never mentioned. And I just don't see the point. Like I said, your social media is yours to do whatever you want with, and if you are genuinely happy just making out that everything's rosy in your garden at all times, you do you. But life isn't like that, and my life certainly isn't like that. And the trouble is with me, maybe I overshare, but I don't really care. I just think life is made of ups and downs. Wow, I just realised I'm quoting the theme tune to the CBeebies TV show Love Monster. But you know, let's go with this theme. Sometimes everything goes right. Sometimes everything goes wrong. Life is made of ups and downs. Doesn't matter. Just sing this song. Oh wow, I'm so sorry to anybody who doesn't know what that show is. And also, just in general. But this whole thing was really brought into sharp focus at the weekend because we decided we would have a really lovely day out. We would go to Cardinham Woods and we would take Dylan and the dog and we'd have this blissful day out in the lovely warm sunshine, walking in a really beautiful area, and it would be wonderful and marvellous. And I thought, oh, I'm going to film that for YouTube because what a lovely video that will make. Yeah, things went wrong very early. Don't get me wrong, we did in many ways have a very nice walk around the woods. I could very easily have put together a video of the nice, lovely time we had in the woods and put some nice plinky plonky music over it, and it would have been gorgeous. In fact, please enjoy that. we had a few little stumbles. For example, when we travel with the dog in the car, he sits on the back seat with a little dog seat belt. It's all very cute. But because Dylan's car seat was in the back seat, I wasn't sure I wanted the dog to be on the back seat next to him in case, you know, Dylan grabbed his fur and the dog reacted and Mum and I were both in the front and couldn't do anything. So stupidly I said, even though my dog is not a small dog, I was like, hey, Rusty can just sit on my lap. Rusty weighs quite a lot and his claws are quite sharp, and when we got to the woods he was so keen to scramble out of the car that he turned himself around whilst on me and just mauled my leg by mistake. I'm not gonna lie, I was not dignified about this. It was really painful and I screamed is what I did. I actually went "Ah!" because it really hurt. And if I had wanted to project just a perfect image of this trip to the woods, I absolutely would not be able to reference that. But I am somebody who's quite happy to admit that sometimes everything goes right, sometimes everything goes wrong. Love monster. And then of course there was the walk itself. It was a lot busier in the woods than we expected. Not that it was like heaving with other people, but there were quite a few people, and there were people who dawdled, which I get annoyed by. I'm not a fan of dawdling. I like to, you know, walk at a decent pace. So that was starting to knock me. And there were kids who were just like running zigzag across the path, so we were like, ah, trying to control the buggy. And then there was the fact that Dylan wanted to go and get out of the buggy, which is absolutely fine, but there are some really steep drops in the woods with like no barrier, and Dylan is not quite two, and he will just leg it and not look where he's going because, you know, he's just having a lovely time. And so my mum and I were like having a heart attack, like he's going to go over the edge. So we had to keep putting him back in his buggy for his own safety, and he did not like that one little bit. He also really loved it when we got him out of the buggy and went to paddle in the stream, which was really lovely and cooling on our feet. But obviously he loved it so much that when we took him out of the stream, he wasn't so happy with that either. And of course it was really, really hot, so my mum and I were getting overheated and overtired and just stressed out, and so we ended up bickering with each other as we wandered towards the car park at the end, and we were fine by the time, you know, we got home, and we were like, I'm sorry I was so grumpy with you, but it was not quite the perfect trip that we had envisioned. And if I was one of those people who was just like, I can only put perfect things on my social media at all times, I would be, you know, fraudulent. There are people in this world who would literally have come home, edited what they've got together and just been like, it was blissful, we had the most amazing time throughout, 10 out of 10. And to be fair, you know, it was a solid 7 out of 10 for us. There were some really great aspects to that trip out, but there were some that I am still physically scarred by. Like I said, I'm probably an oversharer. I probably have been very guilty in the past of being too open and too like, oh my god, this happened today and it's dreadful. And I don't like it when people go too far down that route either. I have a friend on Facebook who I quite frequently have to put on mute because she will just post so frequently, everything is terrible, life is awful, today I couldn't even get my favourite crisps at the shop, when will life give me a break? And I do just think, wow, you are literally alive, you have the money to go to the shops and try and get your favourite crisps, maybe just, you know, stop it. Wow, that probably makes me sound really, really mean and lacking in empathy, but, you know, I just think there are bigger problems in the world. Everything's on a scale from like really appallingly awful to absolutely wonderfully brilliant, and let's be honest, most of our lives are somewhere in the middle, and we sort of flit. We have our moments when we feel like we're right at that end of the scale, and we have moments where we feel like we're right at that end. I guess basically this whole video is just a lot of word salad to try and get out the thoughts I had in my head on Sunday when we got home, and I thought, I bet there will be some people who would just edit that into, you know, this image of perfection, and in reality, perfection doesn't exist. Even the cutest dog has probably done a massive poo on the floor before now. Doesn't mean you love them any less, just means, you know, none of us are perfect. What do you think? Do you see these pages on Instagram where people are just like, oh my gosh, my life is so perfect all the time, and think, no, it's probably not? Or do you like that? Do you aspire to that and think, actually, how brilliant, life is negative enough? I mean, you know, in this country, we do have the government from hell right now, and we've just lost one awful Prime Minister, and we're probably going to have another one soon to replace him. So I understand people wanting to pretend life is great, because we need to. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments, because this is one of those subjects that every now and then I just have a good old think about. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up. You can click on my floaty head if you would like to subscribe to this channel, and last week's video, which is a very nice, relaxing train journey, which was a solid 9 out of 10 as far as days go, is over there. I will talk to you all next week. Take care of yourselves. Bye!